So this is for you kids in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 that just cannot get guess and check. Now, I believe as an Algebra 2 teacher that guess and check is far superior to any method, but I'm probably going to be teaching slide and divide next year in addition to how I normally teach factoring, because factoring is a huge issue in high school math. At least in Algebra 2 it is. Kids who can't factor, they struggle. They struggle all year long because of it. Now, this is called the slide and divide method. What we're going to do is we're going to take that A term and we're going to slide it over right next to C, okay? Now we're going to throw it out the window. Briefly, it'll come back. That's the slide part in slide and divide. So here I have a 5, and I'm going to slide it next to the 12. Throw it away. X squared plus 19x plus 12 times 5, which is 60. Now, if that's part of your issue, that's why factoring is bothering you. You need to go back and somehow get that 4th and 5th grade you to get better at arithmetic and multiplication. Arithmetic is adding, then you got multiplication. Now, we reduce this down to something where A is 1. This is factors of 60 that add to the middle term B to 19. Now, I'm assuming that you know how to use the double distributive property in the FOIL method. That's what I'm assuming. If not, that's something you need to refresh yourself on. All right? Now, 60 happens to be 4 times 15. That's one of its many factors. And 4 plus 15 happens to be 19. So this is where my numbers are coming from. I need an x and an x to create the x squared. And to create the 60, I needed a 4 and a 19. They were both positive because I did addition. I did positive 4 plus 15. I had something else in my head there. This is going to leave, if I was to FOIL this out, I would get this guy right here. Now, that was the slide part. Here comes the divide part. Since I multiplied that constant by 5, I have to divide these constants by 5. And this one's easy. One of these is usually easy. This is x plus 3, because 15 over 5 is 3. This one, what we do is we multiply this piece by 5, and we multiply that piece by 5, just to make it look prettier. 5x plus 4. Now, the real question is this correct? Most people in the United States of America have probably been taught FOIL. I've tried to not say the word FOIL because I know that it just kind of limits kids. It's actually called the double distributive property or triple distributive property if you have a third binomial in there. But anyways, let's check it. 5x times x is 5x squared. 5x times 3 is plus 15x. Don't know why I got the parentheses there. You have to forgive me. I'm a little sick still. 4 times x is plus 4x, and 4 times 3 is plus 12. Putting everything back together, we have 15x and 4x, which is 19x, and plus 12, which matches our original trinomial. So it did work. And our complete correct factorization is this guy right here. Now, I'm a guess and check guy. I would have been done with this problem a long time ago. And most people who are guess and check would have done it a long time ago. But if you're trying to survive, slide and divide's probably where it's going to be. There's one. I'm going to do 2 more. The next one's going to be a little rougher. It's actually not the roughest one. The roughest one is probably the last one because the numbers get so blasted big. Or maybe it's just me this morning. I'm kind of out of it. Next up on our menu here is 9x squared plus 66x plus 21. Now, if I just started this one off with slide and divide, I would have a bit of a problem here. I would have x squared plus 66x plus 9 times 21, which is 189. And the numbers are kind of big. And that's kind of a problem because the reason most kids struggle with factoring is because the numbers aren't there for them. Like they don't know their factors very well. And one thing we want to do in algebra is we want to make these numbers smaller so that kids can work with them better. And I do the same thing. It's easier to work with small numbers than big numbers. So the very first thing I'm going to do, and I have a commandment in math, it's called if you can pull it, pull it. It's my first commandment, is I'm going to look at those 3 pieces of that trinomial, and I notice that they're all divisible by a 3. So I'm going to pull that 3. And that's going to make the numbers smaller. And at this point in time, you can do any of the techniques you've been taught on how to factor, but this is a slide and divide video. So the next move is going to be to slide that 3 on over and rewrite it. You'll notice I'm leaving that leading 3 out front. It's always there. 7 times 3 is 21. And now we seek factors of 21. That add to 22. And that's going to be 21 times 1, which is 21, and then 21 plus 1, which is 22. So let's go with that. Let's see what happens here. We'll check it at the end and we'll make sure it's all right. Again, it's called slide and divide. We've done the sliding part. We're going to have to do the dividing part in just a minute. We figured it was out 21 and 1 were our numbers. And we did the sliding, so now we have to do the divide part. Remember, we multiplied a constant by 3 here, so we have to divide a constant by 3 in the next move. And I've noticed as I've done a couple of these that usually one of these factors here is pretty simple to work with. This is just x plus 7. Don't forget about your 3. It didn't go anywhere. On this guy, we're going to 3 both pieces. We'll put a little 3 there. We'll put a 3 up there. 3's cancel. 3x plus 1, an equivalent looking factor. Now, is it correct? You know, that's always the big question. Did I do my work right? And we should be doing that. I've taught for years and years and years, and a lot of kids, they just want to write an answer down. Like, don't be that kid. Look in the mirror and realize who the problem is. Fix that issue. So let's see here. Let's see if it's right. X times 3 is going to be a 3x squared because x times x is x squared. Don't be the kid who doesn't know that. X times 1 is an x. Moving the inside here, we have 21x because 7 times 3 is 21. And then 7 times 1 is plus a 7. And the last thing is another distributive property. After we combine some like terms here, that's going to be a 22x and we're just going to distribute that 3 in. So if we distribute that 3 in, we'll have 9x squared plus 66x plus 21. So as you can see, we got the original polynomial back. The original trinomial came back to us. The slide and divide method works. It makes the numbers smaller, which is kind of cool. It breaks it down a little better. The next one is one of those that I think guess and check is superior, but we'll see. We'll compare and contrast, okay? Always compare and contrast, and you need to pick the method that works best for you. There's lots of methods out there. There's the AC method, there's the X method, there's slide and divide, and there's straight up guess and check. And I am a guess and check person. So the next one I have and the last one I have is 4x squared minus 35x plus 49. That's the last one I have here for you. And we're going to do a slide and divide. And this one has a problem that the numbers get kind of big. And that's the issue that any teacher who's ever taught factoring knows. They know that if the numbers get big, the number of kids who can do the standard drops significantly. So I slid that 4 over. 4 times 49, and this is, I wouldn't be surprised if my honors kids started pushing buttons in a calculator on that one, or just anybody in general going to push buttons. But 4 times 49 should be 196 because 4 times 40 is 160, 4 times 9 is 36, 160 plus 36 is 196. And I get that. And by the way, this is not equivalent to the original polynomial. That's one of the issues with some of these techniques of factoring is they change how it is. So we did the sliding. We're going to do some factoring, and this is why I think this one's kind of tough, because you seek factors of 196 that add to, and it is a positive, by the way, positive 196 that add to negative 35. And I could see a lot of kids not getting this. Most everybody that I taught this year would have had to pick up a calculator to figure out these factors. There might be one or two that did not. But 196 is divisible by 28. It's 28 times 7. 7 times 20 is 140. 7 times 8, I'm pretty sure, is like 56, right? And 140 and 56 is 196. But it's negative 28 times negative 7. That gives you the positive 196. And negative 28 plus a negative 7 gives you the negative 35. So this one has issues with that still. Anybody who's taught algebra understands how hard it is sometimes for kids to figure out the numbers. It's about a skill called perseverance. Kids don't want to persevere. They don't want to sit there and just work it out. Everybody wants everything to come to them really quick and easy. And sadly, that's just not the way these things tend to work. Now, we slid. Remember, this was slide. All right? Now we have to do divide. We slid a 4 over, so we're going to divide a 4 out. And we multiplied the constant by 4, so we're still dividing the constant by 4. And here's that nice easy one that factored that works out nicely. 28 over 4 is 7. And this guy, we clean it up the same way we have been. We just multiply both pieces by a little bitty 4, and we'll get 4x minus 7. And there's the complete factorization of that one. Now, I'm a huge proponent of guess and check. I could have guessed and checked this thing in just a handful of seconds. Now, part of that is just from experience. And I do want to talk about that. You know, you need to pick the method of factoring that works best for you. And the reality is, if you're going to be somebody that's going into the field that requires a lot of mathematics, guess and check is superior. It leads to a higher level of understanding. Here we used an algorithm, a process that changed the problem and then fixed it later on. But guess and check, I would have sought factors of 4x squared, which would be either a 4x and a 2x, and I would have sought factors of 49 such that when I do the double distributive property, I add to the middle number of negative 35. And it turns out that factors of positive 49 are just negative 7 and 7. And the outside creates a negative 28x, and the inside creates a negative 7x. And by golly, if you put those two together, you get the original thing. Guess and check is superior. Do not think that the slide and divide method is superior. Slide and divide is surviving factoring. Guess and check is mastering factoring, making it you know what. So, survive, master. Pick your pill, kids. Red pill, blue pill. I picked the red pill. That's guess and check.